At Good Stuff again, and I wanted to show you some things I just found, and I'm continuing to find somebody has cleaned out their necktie collection. This is cool. Here, get close. See, like, there's these that are all wool. They seem to all be from Capwell's in Oakland, which, like, how great is that? They're, here's another one, Capwell. But the problem is these are in pretty bad shape. They have lots of holes, lots of stains, and they're just kind of unredeemable, but it's like it all came from the same person's estate, maybe, that they, like, just really like these. So I was looking at this, I thought, well, too bad. That'd be cool, but can't do it. But then I found this guy. No lining. That means it's an old tie. It's an old brocade. I'm going to say probably from the 20s, based on the color and the pattern, the geometric pattern. But this stitching's a little clumsy here and here. It's like, what's going on with that stitching? So I'm going to ask some friends. I'm going to ask some friends about how authentic that stitching is and what they think the age is, because I'm not sure, but I think it's the 20s. And then I was kind of just rifling through here, and I was like, ah, zing. Hello, 1950. I'm going to get it and see if these spots will come out. But that's definitely like a late 40s, early 50s swing tie. Here, look at this label. Cravatting Deluxe. I love it, with London Bridge on it. It's hilarious. But you can tell it's been knotted. Somebody's worn it, but that's fine. I mean, other than the little marks, you know, it's actually in pretty good shape. Sometimes you find information on the blade here, like as to what it is, if it's rayon or, you know, whatever. This needs a little tacking up. See if it's lost its stitching on the back. But that's really easy to fix. I mean, totally worth whatever this is, $1.50 or something, you know. So I'm just going to keep going through here and see what else I find.
See you next time. Okay.
Seeing some that I saw the last trip that I kind of still interested in, but they're so wide that you know, I just can't wear a tie that wide because it makes me look like a tiny, tiny child. It's like, it's just... The first thing I look for when I'm just digging through a giant thing like this is it a brocade? You feel it. And it's like, okay, immediately right there I'm interested. But this is too wide. It's like ridiculous. But this one, no lining, that nearly always means that it's old. I can't tell on this one because it does have kind of... I want to say this is a little more modern, and the label might be a little more modern, but another tip-off is it doesn't have the tail holder, or whatever that's called, the piece that goes across here, like most ties, most modern ties do. Like that guy, see, where you tuck the tail in there? Older ties don't have that, and they don't have a lining. So this is probably old, but I'm not sure, because the label looks like it could be newer. So again, I'm going to ask a friend, see what they say. And I like the kind of pinstripes. Usually I don't go for diagonal stripes, but in this case it's tiny, so it fits my size and frame because of the scale of the print. I found this other one too, which has some issues. It's missing the piece across here. You can see where the stitching was for that. So it's newer probably. It's lined, but it's lamb's wool, made in Scotland. Yay. Woven in Scotland, made in the USA. And then I just kind of like the color. So it looks like it has a little soiling at the knot, which is another thing you really want to look for, is any staining in this area at the knot, because, you know, things happen. You're at dinner, you spill something, it's either going to be on the, you know, this part or on the knot. And I've had to get rid of ties that I could not get clean because the knot was just so soiled. So I got 4 so far, not bad. Some new things in here, some repeats, but hey, you know, good time at the tie bin. Oh, it's skinny. It's newer, but it's skinny, and it's maybe linen? I don't know. Let's see. No, there's no material tag, but I'm going to think about that one. Do I need it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I'll think about it. Oh, this is a trip. Look at this. What in the world? It's a Woolly. Look at this great label. Monterey hand-loomed mills, loomed in California, 100% wool with a little mission on it. That is adorable. Okay, I have to get that. Is there any holes? Wool always, you want to look for holes. There's a thin spot, but it's not a moth bite, which is really what you're looking for. And then the tail doesn't really matter that much. But this is getting a little iffy, but that can be pretty easily just trimmed. Yep. It's a terrible color, but you know what? It'll go with something. That is a cool tie, and I just like that label. Oh, somebody is cleaning out old ties. This is amazing. I don't know if I've ever found so many in one batch. Marmon of California, pure silk. But again, unlined, you can tell the label's vintage. Yep. Yep, boy. The jackpot today. Another Woolly. All the Woolies ever. Hattons, Reno, Nevada. Oh, uh-oh. And that's what I mean by moth bites. That it could be fixed, but why? You know, it's just not worth it. It's a shame because that's, you know, a nice vintage tie, but that's just, you know, can't do anything with it, unfortunately. I think that's about all I'm seeing in here. And feeling, you want to feel. That's how I found this. I was in here and went, oh, I feel wool, but can't use it. Okay, the verdict is in, and I asked two of my favorite tie experts, Neil Blangiardo and Mark Chevalier, and here is what they are saying about these ties that I found. Yay! This one is, in fact, early 1920s. Yay! Ding, 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 ding. We have a giant winner. And in fact, upon seeing it, Neil pretty much claimed it like within seconds, and it is now on its way to New York City. Let's see. He says labels really matter with ties this old. People want proof of what they are, how they are, you know, all that. He asked about the neck stitching. It does, in fact, have the neck stitching. It's a little hard to see here, but that reinforcement that helps kind of hold it together. Notice the lengths on these also. Actually, let me do that real quick. See how there's some shorter and some longer? We'll talk about that in a second. Neil also said that the center seam means that it was probably made in Europe. So how the seam here is going down the middle. He said that is the mark of a European-made tie. So I learned something new. I learned several new somethings. So this is kind of, it's really hard to see. It's kind of a silvery, almost a mauve, and like a emerald, dark emerald green. This one is late 40s, early 50s, so it's a little older than I thought. And I broke my own rule. I did not look closely enough at the knot area, and it's pretty bad. I don't know if I'm going to be able to clean that, but I will give it a soak and see if I can recover from this tragicness. And then a press, that's easy enough to do, but yikes. But notice that this is longer than the others, as is the red one, which is also a mid-50s, according to Mark. So that's when some ties are getting longer, and they're both skinny ties. So the width, too, will help tell you how wide or how old these ties are by the width. Now this one, which I thought was 30s based on the color, which is kind of a Nile green, and then also the 20s and 30s was the arts and crafts movement. So you have the hand-loomed mills, loomed in California, 100%. Well, it's very, you know, it's all about handicrafts, crafts, and that was very popular in that era. So I thought it was 30s, and Mark is saying let's see, later 50s is what he said in this one. And as I guessed, this one is definitely a swing tie. I totally nailed this. I said 1948 to 1952, and he said late 40s to early 50s, so completely called that one. Yay! So this one needs a lot of help. It needs cleaning. There's some spots on here. It needs pressing. It needs this. All the stitching is just missing. It needs to be restitched. But that's all actually easy fixes. That's something that anybody with any skill with a needle and thread can do. You know, you often see this. The stitching is hand done, and it comes loose. It just kind of does, and so often older ties you will need to give it a stitch or two, and then it's good to go for another 40 years or 50 years. So that is the verdict on these, and these two purple ones that showed up briefly, I just liked them. They're not particularly old, but in terms of style, I just kind of like them. And this color is not super accurate in this camera. Sorry. This is kind of like a dark, dusty plum, actually. Skinny tie, good for my frame. And this one, lamb's wool, which is kind of fun. So I think this one's also wool. It's either wool or like a slubby linen, and I'm not sure. But anyway, those are just fun, but not old. So that is the tale of the ties. If you liked what you saw, like it, share, subscribe, do the thing, and I'll be back next time on Thrifty Tomboy.